Hello everyone, in this lecture we will see what is an SCM scenario. A typical configuration management operational scenario involves a project manager who is in charge of a software group, a configuration manager who is in charge of the configuration management procedures and policies, the software engineers who are responsible for developing and maintaining the software product, and the customer who uses the product. In the scenario, assume that the product is small one involving about 15,000 lines of code being developed by a team of 6 people. At the operational level, the scenario involves various roles and tasks. For the project manager, the goal is to ensure that the product is developed within a certain time frame. Hence, the manager monitors the progress of the development and recognizes and reacts to problems. This is done by generating and analyzing reports about the status of the software system and by performing reviews on the system. The goals of the configuration manager are to ensure that procedures and policies for creating, changing, and testing of code are followed, as well as to make information about the project accessible. To implement techniques for maintaining control over code changes, this manager introduces mechanisms for making official requests for changes, for evaluating them via a change control board that is responsible for approving changes to the software system and for authorizing changes. The manager creates and disseminates task list for the engineers and basically creates the project context. Also, the manager collects statistics about components in the software system, such as information determining which components in the system are problematic. For the system engineers, the goal is to work effectively. This means engineers do not unnecessarily interfere with each other in the creation and testing of code and in the production of supporting work products. But at the same time, they try to communicate and coordinate effectively. Specifically, engineers use tools that help build a consistent software product. They communicate and coordinate by notifying one another about tasks required and tasks completed. Changes are propagated across each other's work by merging files. Mechanisms exist to ensure that for components that undergo simultaneous changes, there is some way of resolving conflicts and merging changes. A history is kept of the evaluation of the components of the system along with a log with reasons for changes and a record of what actually changed. The engineers have their own workspace for creating, changing, testing and integrating code. At certain point, the code is made into a baseline from which further development continues and from which variants for other target machines are made. The customer uses the product. Since the product is under configuration management control, the customer follows formal procedures for requesting changes and for indicating bugs in the product. Ideally, a configuration management system used in this scenario should support all these roles and tasks. That is, the roles determine the functionality required of a configuration management system. The project manager sees the configuration management as an auditing mechanism. The configuration manager sees it as a controlling, tracking, and policy making mechanism. The software engineer sees it as a changing, building, and access control mechanism. And the customer sees it as a quality assurance mechanism.